What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for ReZero Season 2. This is episode 18, and with me, as always, I have Bluespade.
Mm-hmm. So, we were kind of talking about this last week, about how this episode was going to be presented. I remember, you mentioned last week that it might alternate between Ryuzu's past and Emilia's past. But it seemed like we got both half of those, in the same episode, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it plays out in the novel.
Mm-hmm. So it seems to me that I'm just guessing right now, but it might we might get both Ryuzu's and Emilia's stories alternating in between each other for each episode before we get to the finale, because I think we're pretty close to the finale of the second season.
Yeah.
Soon,
that's definitely going to happen before the finale. Obviously they need to, Emilia needs to get through her trial, the first trial. And, we're going to see the rest of her past as well as Ryuzu's.
Yeah. So the episode starts off outside the sanctuary or outside the trial temple. And, of course, one of the Ryuzu's is starting to fade out. So she's trying to use Shima using the rest of her time to explain, the original Ryuzu's past to Subaru and the rest of the guys. So we pretty much see a flashback of the original Ryuzu and Beatrice alongside with
Echidna?
Echidna. Yeah, Echidna. Yeah. So initially, their relationship wasn't. I mean, they didn't really, go off and they kind of went off on the wrong foot initially, but it seemed like eventually, I guess Beatrice started to warm up to Ryuzu, eventually helping her out with the chores from time to time, and then of course by the end of that flashback we see a Roswaal from way back in the past. I guess he had a meeting with Echidna back then.
Yeah, he apparently I think he sees Echidna as a teacher or something. He refers to her as teacher in the novel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, what was it? The Ryuzu of the present day confirms that Roswaal is a different Roswaal from the past. So this kind of confused Subaru a bit, thinking that this was the same Roswaal that he's come to know. But as we know, if people who've read the novels or the X novels, that there's different versions of Roswaal over different generations, including a female Roswaal if you've read the EX novel featuring Wilhelm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a little bit weird because they all, I guess, obviously mostly with the exception of the female Roswaal, kind of look more or less the same. Because this Roswaal looks, maybe just like a younger version of the current Roswaal.
Yeah. However, it's just, they all have this similar speech pattern in which, if you know how Roswaal speaks, you'll get what I'm talking about. I can't really accurately describe it, but it's just, it's definitely a Roswaal from the past. But of course, the flashback was, in this episode was, I would say it only took maybe about, I would say a fourth of this episode, because it went by pretty quickly.
Yeah, and there's still more to it. So they just kind of went through maybe the first half of it, and then of course we just kind of cut back to where they left off at the end of the last episode with Emilia's trial of the past.
Yeah, and we pretty much pretty much pick up where Regulus appears before Betelgeuse and Fortuna alongside Emilia, and alongside him is of course Pandora, which I wasn't expecting to see this soon into the series.
Yeah, this is when she shows up. I heard about her from the later arcs in the novel and just the rumors about how ridiculously OP she is, but I guess this is where she gets introduced, is in the latter half of arc 4.
Yeah, and of course Fortuna just immediately attacks her chance she gets. But unfortunately, like she wasn't. I don't know if like it looked like she did get her, but I don't think like Pandora looked like she'd taken any damage from anything she takes.
Yeah, well, as we'll see later, like, Pandora does take damage, but she just instantly resurrects. It doesn't matter, if she pretty much will, most of the time, just kind of let herself get hurt or killed, and she'll just come back just immediately after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but of course, eventually, like, Fortuna does get away with Emilia at first, and then Betelgeuse, like, is left alone by himself to pretty much fend off Regulus by, well, I guess he opens a container, like that uses what was his hands,
The witch factor.
the witch factor.
Yeah, the container has the witch factor. It's pretty much what gives him the witch factor he has later on in the series, and I suppose it's what gives him the ability of the unseen hands.
Yeah, and soon after this, soon after Pandora sees this, she immediately bestows the title of what was
Sloth.
it? Yeah, Sloth. Yeah, the title of Sloth toward Betelgeuse. So that's how he became to have that title. Initially,
one interesting thing I should point out too is before he consumes the witch factor is he references Flugel, which is a name we've heard before in the series, which is Flugel, he's someone will come up, I'm pretty sure, like later on in the series, if the series ever gets another season, but he becomes more important as it goes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, so, what was it? It's soon after that, like, well, of course, Emilia wants to see what happens to Betelgeuse, but of course, she has to continue seeing where she is, where Fortuna is taking her back, and of course, this leads into like a pretty, I guess, an emotional scene between both her and Fortuna, leaving each other. I guess like we could consider like this could be the last time they see each other, or maybe they see each other again like later on, but I can't say for sure.
I mean, as far as I know, it is, but it's we haven't really, as far as I know, I don't think we've really seen Fortuna after this point. People have theories that she may have come back and she's some mystery character, but I don't know too much about that.
Yeah, and of course, Fortuna gives Emilia to one of the other elves. I forgot his name. It's
Archie.
Archie, yeah.
So they kind of skimped some details about Archie in this. Basically, he's someone who's kind of like friendly with Fortuna, and he occasionally like looks after Emilia. They don't really give us much info about him in the anime though. So he's sort of he kind of, which I mean, he's not really a totally important character, so I don't think it was really necessary to do so.
Yeah, well, Fortuna, before Fortuna gives Emilia to Archie, like they of course like say their last goodbyes, saying that with Fortuna promising that she'll see Emilia again, and then of course like Archie gets away with Emilia, but in the chaos he gets hit in the leg by, I think what was it, a serpent or something like that?
Yeah, it's called the Great Serpent. It's one of the three great beasts.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like after he gets hit, like he gets, I guess he gets infected by whatever this thing is. I don't know if it's poison or like something that's corrupting him. But even if he, when he tries to sever his own leg, it still comes like consuming him, like pretty much consumes the rest of his body. And then he tells Emilia to keep running away, and that's pretty much the last, supposedly where we see the last of Archie at this point.
Yeah. He tells Emilia to run into with the flowers and just keep running.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I think right after this it cuts back to the fight between Betelgeuse and Regulus Cornelius.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course we see Fortuna finally join him.
Well, Regulus does manage. Well, he
Oh yeah, well he
cuts.
Yeah, he does kind of
Betelgeuse'
overpower Betelgeuse.
Yeah, he pretty much cuts his right arm off. Then, but of course, what was it? Pandora stops him, asks him to calm down. But of course, Regulus doesn't take it too well. So out of nowhere, he just immediately tears Pandora apart piece by piece, and then soon afterwards, we do see Fortuna coming back to aid Betelgeuse again, but then soon afterwards we see Pandora just come out of nowhere, if that initial attack really didn't affect her at all. So she just pretty much pushes Regulus into the ground, and then I guess I don't know what she did with him. Either she teleported him away or just she buried him into the ground.
It's more that she teleported away, but basically if she says something, if she says something, she wants something to be a certain way, the world will basically alter itself to make it so. So she kind of it's like he was never there, basically, because if you notice when he disappears, the forest around them also goes back to the way it was before. And there's no destruction or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because as she says after he disappears, that everything pretty much went back to the way it was before he came here. But the only thing that didn't change is that the fact that Betelgeuse put the witch factor into himself. She didn't change that. And apparently that was just because she didn't want that to change, I guess, is what she said. But yeah, and as we can see, this episode kind of gives us an idea of just how kind of messed up Pandora is, because she just seems to really enjoy just either watching people suffer or certain things and saying they're beautiful. She's very eccentric in a lot of ways. So
yeah. Well, I was expecting something else to happen with Betelgeuse in this episode, due to the title being called "The Day Betelgeuse Laughed." I thought he was gonna go insane in this episode, but it didn't seem like it happened in this episode.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen until that probably won't even happen until the either the next episode or the episode after that. But we also learned that Pandora is one of the witches. She's the witch of Vanity, I think it was.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she called herself Vanity. Yeah. And we pretty much leave. It pretty much cuts away back to Amelia. Well, pretty much I would say post credits in a way, where Amelia is still distraught after being separated from Archie and Fortuna, and then she thinks back to what Pandora said about the seal. So she goes back to where the seal is, and then of course the first person she runs into is of course Pandora, which is curious, how she's even there in the first place.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem to imply anything good about what happened, between the because the last we saw of Betelgeuse and Fortuna, they were about to try to fight Pandora, and then of course it cuts to Amelia running into the seal, and Pandora's there. So she must have gotten away pretty much unscathed from that, and it doesn't really leave a good indication about what might have happened to Betelgeuse and Fortuna.
Yeah. I mean, but
I'm sure they'll probably show that in the next episode, though, because there is actually a fight, so that it's not like they don't show the fight.
But of course, but
as you might imagine, it's not going to. It's pretty pointless. Pandora can't die. There's no way to kill her. That's the next episode is probably going to drive that much home, because the novel really they kill Pandora multiple times, and she will always come back.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, but the episode does cut out from there, and then we're curious as to what's going to happen next week. I would assume that Pandora is going to convince Amelia to unlock the seal that's in front of her, which I would assume that it's what caused that chaos in the forest in the first place.
Yeah, you would be right. I won't say what happens with the seal, but yeah, Pandora definitely wants the seal to be open. And Amelia is, for whatever reason, Amelia is the only one that can do it. She's the one that has the key. But even like the only one who can actually unlock the seal is Amelia. Like Pandora can't just like take the key from her and do it herself. Like Amelia has to do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Well, I guess we'll probably have to see how it happens. Probably by next week, or unless if we finally go back to Ryuzu's storyline. Probably because we only got that. I mean, we only got that briefly in this episode. It didn't really last as much as like I would say 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm definitely curious as to how this how this flashback is going to conclude, if it is going to conclude at all.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not really a spoiler. People can pretty much assume this. Let's just say tragically.
Yeah.
As with probably also with Ryuzu's flashback as well as Amelia's. But yeah, this is a pretty good episode. Like all the past 3 episodes with this one included have all been like pretty fucking long. Like they've all been around like 30 minutes long. And of course, still no new opening.
I mean, honestly, like I've been saying this for the last several weeks. I don't think I really much care about whether or not they put in a new opening or not.
But yeah, like I thought, like I said, I thought this was great. Like it's, we actually finally get some kind of get some action. Like, we just, the last couple episodes have been pretty dialogue heavy, and we finally got some kind of, well, I don't know if you'd really call it too much of a fight. I mean, it seems like Betelgeuse could kind of hold his own against Corneus, but not for too long at least. Pandora can't really, like I said, Pandora can't be beaten, so it's pretty futile to even try to fight her. So, but at least we get something. So I mean, it was just to see how powerful these characters are, like especially Pandora. Like Pandora, like I don't know why the author considers, like, apparently Reinhardt is the most OP character in the author in terms of like characters power level ranking or something. But I don't know why Pandora isn't up right up there with him, just because of how, like, what she can do. But yeah, like this, like I said, I thought it was a great episode. I don't really have any complaints with it. I couldn't think of anything that was really cut. They might have just done some things a little bit differently in terms of, like, maybe they might have showed more of Emilia's trial of the past before they went back to Ryuzu's. But it still pretty much played out the same way.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely looking forward to how this is going to conclude. I mean, I know it's going to more than likely end tragically, based on what happens. But I'm curious, like, how not only this trial, but how on what Subaru and the rest of the guys are going to do, like on what's going to happen in the sanctuary and in the mansion too.
Yeah, because obviously there's still the issue of the mansion to deal with. I mean, we still technically haven't even liberated the sanctuary yet, and there's still the attack on the mansion that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how Subaru's going to tackle that. But yeah, so I don't know if you have anything else to say about this episode.
No, it was a pretty good episode. I mean, much more intense than what it was last week, but it's definitely building up to something, something big that's going to happen next week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but that all being said, until next Wednesday, I guess until next time, we will see you all later.